Get 5 coffins ready.
What's up everybody, Shinmoki here, and today we're going to be talking about 3 gods to one-trick in the soul lane in SMITE. If you don't already know what one-tricking is, it's when you play almost exclusively one character to the point that you know every little thing there is to know about them, from matchup knowledge to niche mechanics of the character, as well as of course exceptional execution of the character. So, since it's pretty much the only god you'll be playing, they need to be characters that are not only good in the meta consistently, but also heavily benefit from learning the ins and outs of them to ridiculous degrees. This video isn't for beginners and will require you to have a basic understanding of each role, but I'll of course be describing each god as best I can, and if you want a breakdown of each character, I'll leave resources for myself and others down in the description. Without further ado, let's hop into the soul lane with my first pick, Amaterasu. In terms of high-level play, Ama has bounced around like a ping-pong ball, but I think when she's not being considered top tier, she becomes one of the most overlooked characters in the soul lane. Amaterasu is a basic attack and ability-based hybrid character, with her abilities enhanced by her basic attacks and her basic attacks enhanced by her abilities. She's a character who early on is, not great, but at the same time, she's not nearly as weak early as her reputation would lead you to believe. And squeezing the most out of her early game is something Ama one-tricks are masters of. The late game is where Ama shines. Get it? Since again, basic attack based character, so no matter how bad things look, she can rely on her own prowess as an unkillable bruiser late game who can not only 1v1 any carry, but also have a teamfight defining ultimate on top of that. The main thing that Ama is just plain annoying. You can't kill her, you can't peel her off yourself, and when your teammates try to peel her off you, she just ults and stuns everything within a 5-mile radius. Really, where one-tricking Ama comes in is not only getting herself through that early game, but also having a mind to stick games out as well to maximize farm opportunities. She's the kind of god who really doesn't care how far behind her team gets, so long as she herself stays afloat in terms of farm. Barring metas when ADCs can buy like 17 pet items, Ama is able to become a hyper carry bruiser in literally every single match. Granted, it goes long enough, and you as the Ama player don't allow yourself to get too far behind. And that does sort of open up another good point about gods who one-trick. They tend to be good at exploiting SMITE players who are, well, they're not rocket scientists, so be on the lookout for teams who are so gung-ho about destroying the rest of your team that they just leave you to farm the entire soul lane side of the map for yourself, and then you get to pull up to the next fight like Omar Little. Speaking of Little, Tyr, my next soul lane god. When I said Ama was annoying, she's just one of those gods who's annoying in the moment, whereas Tyr is just, ugh. He evaporates waves, heals any poke or all-in damage for that matter, and you cannot ever, and I mean ever, gank him. One of the main factors of getting good with Tyr is really nailing down that early game to make sure you don't get behind. And you do this by not giving a singular shit about your lane opponent and just doing your own thing. He's one of those characters who really benefits from player confidence and laning with no fear. I am on a roll with the puns today. Speaking of fearless, this is another aspect that makes Tyr good for one-tricking. Learning to lane, managing waves, knowing when to rotate, that's all great. Bars. But with Tyr, if you master how and when to blink, ult, or dash stance switch into a fearless, that's really all you need to do to completely annihilate teamfights. Getting that good fearless isn't easy at first, when you're new to Tyr, but especially if you're new to SMITE. But it's something you have to do as Tyr to have any relevance at all. You can be as farmed up as you like, but if you don't quickly and effectively get behind a target other than the enemy support and push them into your team, you're useless. Again, kind of going back to that whole idea of exploiting players who play like their monitors are off, but not every game is going to have those players, so practicing fearlessing in a multitude of situations and getting used to multiple tools to do it, like your ult, blink, blue dash, or just plain movement speed is going to have a massive payoff and make you hard to deal with in every single match. Speaking of hard to deal with every single match, my final soul laner, King Arthur. What an asshole. Not nearly as powerful as he used to be, but still a strong character in every patch since his release, King Arthur is a strange character. A stance switcher with no stance switch ability, lunging AoE basic attacks, and 2 ultimates that you can't even use unless you charge them first. Get used to his weird mechanics, stringing together his lunge basic attacks with his core abilities, and eventually you become an absolute menace though. Dashing around the entire battlefield, CCing everything in sight while dealing crazy high damage, and as I've said a few times now, being completely unkillable in the process. While King Arthur's movement speed is insane on paper, in practice, he is actually rather slow to make up for the fact that he has 1,000,000,001 dashes. So it goes without saying that you not only have to master actually using the basic attacks and abilities in tandem, you also have to do so under considerable pressure during teamfights and consistently spread out your abilities just so, in order to not waste them or use them in situations where they'll be easily interrupted. Now, this isn't particularly difficult, but there's a pretty blatant gap between King Arthurs who actually just face roll and die instantly, and King Arthurs who perfectly time and execute all their short combos as well as their 25-minute long full 8 ability combos. As I mentioned before as well, the guy above all else is just consistently good and hard to deal with from level 5 and beyond. And that about does it for my 3 soul lane gods to one-trick in SMITE. Hope you guys enjoyed and let me know who you would pick to one-trick in the soul lane. Tune in next time when we talk about mid laners. Thanks for watching.